Hi guys, it's good to be back in the workshop, even though I feel like I have the energy of a sock puppet with no hand in it. But this is a much requested video that I've had from a few past students who have still got their birds on their temporary base and they want to mount it on a branch or something that isn't just flat like this. So you should all have something a bit like this. Not my best work, not gonna lie. And it should be all dry or almost all dry. Dry enough for you to not be able to really move your feet anymore. So we're going to rehydrate them and repose them on another base. So to do that, it's very simple. Just get some cotton wool, break it up, cover your feet, literally just covering the toes with the cotton wool. Simple as that. Ta-da! Now spraying the cotton wool. If you're a bit worried about getting your feathers wet, instead of spraying, you could always just grab a syringe. So this is water mixed with isopropanol. It says 80% water, 20% isopropanol, but I wrote that on there so long ago that who knows if that's true or not. But that's what you're looking for. You just want a bit of alcohol in there, because if you were going to leave this for days, which you could do if you wanted to, if you're particularly busy, then you'd want some sort of antifungicide in the mix, because otherwise you might get mouldy feet, and mould is never good. Even if you clean it off, it could still be there and not ideal. So anyway, I'm soaking the cotton wool. Covering the feet. And then you can either pop the whole thing in a bag. If you're happy with how your skin is, I wouldn't recommend doing that. But you could just use some cling film to cover the feet. That's just trapping the moisture in there, like this. You can just wrap up the base. You can even tape it down if you wanted to. I think it's fine as it is. Depending on how warm your room is, you can leave that for a few hours or overnight. Overnight would definitely be enough for new mounts to become flexible enough. You can even do this on really old mounts, but you have to err on the side of caution when you're adding moisture to an old mount, because if it wasn't preserved very well by the old taxidermist, then you could encounter some problems with fat burn. So it's possible, but it's a risk. So you can do this now with your birds from the classes, if you want to repose their feet, and we'll leave that for a few hours and we'll come back. So leave it 3 hours, come back and see if they're flexible, go from there. If they're not flexible, just leave them longer. Okay. I'm only joking, I'm not that good at editing, so 3 hours have not passed, but my feet were already flexible because I've already done this. Here's one I made earlier. Anyway, there we go. So now our feet should be nice and flexible. Should be able to move your toes. There we go. Excellent. So first off, we'll just take him off the base. We'll straighten our wires to take him off the base. I'm just going to cut mine. Here's a nice new base I've made. This is a piece of wood from Ian Rose. It's peeled ivy. You can find him on Instagram and purchase his wares. He also attends the UK Guild of Taxidermists conference, and you can go and choose bits of wood or bases that he's made that suit you. It's also very reasonably priced. Okay. Okay, so I've pre-drilled my holes where I want them to be. Now you need to think about when you're making your new base, you need it to be quite level. So I've got a branch with a fairly good right angle on it. You're going to want to do that because if your bird's set standing level like this, then and then you put it on a branch that's not at 90 degrees, then your bird's going to look like this. Because the skin's already set. So you can mount birds on a branch that is on an angle, but it's more difficult, and you need to do that when you mount your bird, not later on, because you're just not going to be able to pose the legs correctly at a later date. Just straightening my wires so that they go through the holes better. I'm just going to keep trimming them. Okay, so I've obviously drilled my holes big enough for my wires to get through. Honestly, I'm so weak, it's ridiculous. I thought my drill was broken earlier and I just wasn't putting enough pressure on. COVID's the worst. Okay. Right, so I've pulled my leg wires through, they're just protruding out at the moment. Once I'm happy that my feet have set in the position I want them to be, I can just cut them off where they come out of the branch, and then I can fill in so that you can't see with a bit of milliput or something like that. You could just leave them if you're not really bothered, or I'll probably do quite a decorative base on this. It's not for anything, so I might as well just play. So I'll probably have some vines coming up and that will cover them anyway. If you wanted it to be super ultra secure, perhaps you're sending this abroad, in which case look at the Brexit legalities of doing so. Then you might want to fix these wires back into the branch like I did on a previous video, fixing the wires back into the base. So there's lots of ways that you can do this, but this is fine. I'm just gonna leave them like that. And some of you from classes might have seen my J. You can see with this J, I've pinned its feet to this post. You don't need to put anywhere near this many pins in, but each toe is pinned in place so that they don't move. And that's what I'm going to do now. So basically it's as simple as just bending the toes into place. Have a look at reference and see how birds do sit on branches, because a lot of the time you'll see the back toe sticking up on mounts, and that's not necessarily how they perch. They tend to just grip on. Depends on the species, depends on the feet, depends on so many different things, so it's worth just typing in Eurasian magpie perching and then look at the feet. You can never look at enough reference, really. Okay, so you can, if you've got entomology pins, they're really tiny, don't know if you can see that, you can pin straight through the toe. I prefer not to, so I'll use 2 pins per toe. I'll bend the toe around where I want it to be, around the branch, and then I'll pin diagonally across the toe one way and diagonally across the toe the other way, and that will hold the toe in place just as they dry. So hopefully you can see that. So the pin is not actually going through the toe, it's just holding it in place. Yeah, then I'll just do all of the toes, leave that to dry, and finished.